take your name card. Okay, you get 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and we'll go in the order of the program. So, Elizabeth, you're up first.
All right, first of all, thank you all so much for inviting us to be here. We are running for statewide offices, and we have to cover the entire state of Texas. And I know you all know we can't cover the entire state, but we're counting on Kyle Buda to help us get the word out in this area. I'm Judge Elizabeth Davis Frizell. I'm a former judge from Dallas, Texas. I've been a judge a total of 20 years. I started as a municipal court judge for the city of Dallas, went on to become a municipal court judge for the city of Balch Springs, Lucas, and Princeton. And then I ran for judge in 2006. At that time, there were no Democratic judges on the bench. They said, Liz, we like you, we think you're a good lawyer, but you're not gonna win as a Democrat. I said, well, how do you know unless you try? So I ran anyway, along with several of my colleagues, and all of us won as the first Democrats in Dallas to sit on those benches in 25 years. I served there for 8 years, and then I ran for district judge in 2014. I won. I've tried every type of case as a lawyer, from theft to rape, robbery, murder, capital murder, and I presided over all types of cases, including theft, rape, murder, aggravated robbery, capital. I've heard writs for capital cases, done a lot of things during my 26 years of practicing criminal law. But here recently I got good news, and one thing that I'm very proud of is I just was ranked #1 in this race for Texas Court of Criminal Appeals out of all the candidates. There are 3 Democratic candidates in this race. And I was very proud of that, because not only do all the lawyers who are licensed in the state of Texas get invited to participate in that, but as a judge, you're going to grant motions, deny motions, find someone guilty, find someone not guilty, and it's plenty of opportunity for your bar poll ratings to go down. So for me to be ranked #1 out of 3 Democratic candidates, I'm very proud of that. I also was recently endorsed by the Dallas Morning News, as well as the Preston Howell Democrats, White Rock Lake Democrats, the Houston Lawyers. I'm a mother. I have 2 children. I've been married for 21 years. My daughter's in college, a sophomore at Pepperdine University. My son is a senior, so I'm about to be an empty nester. My husband and I don't know what to do. But thank you all for inviting me. Judge Elizabeth Davis Frizell for Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3.
Okay, Tina.
Good afternoon. My name is Tina Clinton. I am the presiding judge of Texas Criminal District Court #1 in Dallas. It is the oldest criminal district court in the state of Texas. We are on our 126th year and moving. This time, I am on the ballot for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 4. So none of us are against each other, just so that it's easier on you guys. And the reason why I'm running for this race is very easy, and that is that the jurisprudence in Texas on criminal cases is suffering under the current court. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is your highest criminal court in the state of Texas. As many of you know, the highest courts are bifurcated in Texas. So the Supreme Court hears everything but criminal, and the Court of Criminal Appeals hears only criminal cases. So we are a discretionary court, which means that things go to the trial court, it goes to the appellate court, and this court can then decide to take anything from that court that is being appealed up, but they can also deny it. The only thing that is not discretionary in the court is death penalty cases. Those go from the trial court straight up to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and those must be heard. So one of the problems that we have in these courts is that it's a discretionary court, and many of the cases that could be heard are not being heard. And what's worse is that on many of the writs that are going up to the court, there are cases that are being decided with no reason and rationale being given, which means that the lower courts and attorneys are not getting guidance in the law. I have been in criminal law for 25 years. I'm a current judge. I've been a prosecutor, a defense attorney. I have been a municipal court judge, a misdemeanor judge, and now I'm a felony court judge. I bring that wealth of experience so that I can understand the transcripts and what is on these appellate briefs, because I've done it myself. My name is Tina Clinton. I would truly appreciate your vote. Thank you, KBAD.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Brandon Birmingham, and I am currently the presiding judge of one of the felony district courts in Dallas, Texas. I actually am right next door to Judge Clinton. I'm here today with my family. That's my daughter and my son. I didn't tell him I was going to point him out, but I don't think he's too shy. But I did want to say that the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm running for this bench is because of them. And it's because of my wife, who's out here taking pictures too. I'm trying to make the world a better place. That's kind of always been my impetus, my motive. When I was a prosecutor just starting out, I worked on criminal cases. All I've done my whole career are criminal trials. I'm obsessed with trials. Trials are sort of, to me, like movies and art or music are for other people. I study them, I immerse myself in them, and I really do enjoy them. And it's through that experience that I think uniquely qualifies me for the Court of Criminal Appeals. We are running to bring change. We need to have more of that trial experience reflected in those decisions. How many of y'all have ever heard of the exonerations that happened in Dallas County? There was like 34 of them. I mean, there was so many of them, and I actually got to work on some of those cases. Those lessons that we learned in those cases are not reflected in some of the opinions that are coming out. If you ask me what I believe as it relates to the Court of Criminal Appeals, I believe that Texas Constitution is independent. I believe that the Texas values need to be reflected in those decisions. And I believe that our goal should be to make sure that we don't have any wrongful convictions happen ever again. If you've ever heard about any cases from the Court of Criminal Appeals and you just thought, why is that? How can somebody sleep through a trial and all of a sudden that trial be a fair trial? A lawyer sleeping through a trial, things like that. That's offensive to me, and those are some of the things that I want to change. The other thing I'd like to do is bring leadership. The role of a court is to call the balls and strikes, but I do think that the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals can be a leader in legislative change, and that's one of the things that I want to do. Again, my name is Brandon Birmingham, proud and honored to be the Democratic nominee for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals.
Thank you. Okay, Elizabeth, we'll start with you. How should the Court of Criminal Appeals address mental health issues of those who come before the court?
Excellent question. Over 50% of the cases that I've presided over as a judge have had mental health issues. And as a judge, you're allowed to admit evidence for mitigating circumstances in punishment regarding mental health. Too often that does not happen, and as Court of Criminal Appeals court judges, under the right set of circumstances, we could reverse those cases and say there's a new trial that should be had here. And we can do that for all the cases throughout the state of Texas. I know Dallas has been a leader in that area. Both Judge Brandon Birmingham and Judge Tina U. Clinton have been working on that, as well as me when I was a district court judge. But there are other courts throughout the state of Texas that should focus on mental health. Why not get the mental health for someone, make sure that they're taking their medication, and if they can successfully never come back to the criminal justice system, that would be a better result than sending them to the penitentiary. When they get out, they still have the same mental health problem, and there's more recidivism. That's how we get to mass incarceration. We have to look at mental health and make sure we're considering that in punishment, and even, I would go a step further, considering it in guilt innocence. Because I have many cases right now that there are mental health issues that may be admissible for the purposes of guilt innocence.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Time's up.
you.
Tina, same question.
Do you know what the #1 mental health facility in the state of Texas is? It's the Harris County Jail. The #2 is the Dallas County Jail. And that kind of tells you a lot about mental health in the justice system. One of the things that the highest criminal court in the state of Texas has the authority to do, it actually controls funding for the education through grants for judges, lawyers, law enforcement, law students. There is a great deal of money that goes to educating all of these entities that make up the criminal justice system. How and where those priorities are and what we decide to spend it on deals with the people that you put on that bench. And you know that for us, dealing with mental health as we do in the second largest mental facility in the state of Texas, We know a great deal about it. We deal with it every day, and we know that we need to educate our lawyers and our judges more in order to bring up all of criminal justice up so that we don't have to deal with it on appeal as we do now. So that would be my number one priority there.
Thank you. Same question.
Well, what they said. No, I think one of the things that we could probably add is a problem in death penalty litigation. We saw it again this week. The Court of Criminal Appeals reversed a trial because the proper rules weren't given back when the trial was had over in, I think it was in Kaufman County. But the reason why the proper rules weren't given is because the court has been less than clear in giving us guidance as practitioners in the trial courts about how we are supposed to handle death penalty questions about intellectual disability. And because they're not so clear and because they've been reversed on a number of times by the Supreme Court of the United States, everybody that's involved in that trial has to do it over again. And that's a shame. I know because I've experienced that as a practitioner. When you're trying cases or when you're in the courts that we have presided over or are presiding over, you can only do what the court tells you to do, even if you disagree with it, even if you think it's unwise. The cost, the expense is that everybody involved, the defendant, their family, the victims, their families, everybody involved will have to do the case again. And those decisions need to be clear, they need to be better written so that we don't have that many retrials.
Thank you so much. You're back up, Brandon. Okay, Judge Birmingham, you're back up. What reforms do you support to increase access to justice for all?
One of the things that I feel very passionate about is bail reform. How many of you all have heard about people who are locked up for crimes and they're not out because they simply can't afford it? And that's a big problem. One of the things that we've got to make sure is that if somebody is detained pre-trial, it is because they're either dangerous to the community, dangerous to themselves, or dangerous to somebody else, not because they can't afford to get out. We have to set up procedures and policies in order to address that problem. How do we do that? We do that at the beginning by making sure that they have a lawyer present during the arraignment. That's not the law now. It should be. Number two, they've got to have the prosecutors there to give the judges as much information as they can early on. Again, that's not mandated by our laws, and it sure should be. Judges can only make decisions that are good if they have enough information upon which to make them. The more information, the better off we all are. I think that the judge of the Court of Criminal Appeals, all those judges, could be leaders in that area in pushing bail reform. It's been an issue. It's not been one that has been handled by the legislature, but it should be, and that's one of the things that I'll make sure to do once I'm elected.
Thank you.
So I'll say for what Judge Birmingham said, absolutely true. In addition to that, some of the other problems that this court has had is with writs. So like a lot of the cases that you hear about exonerations and even the one that just happened with this intellectual disability case that just came down this week, it's via writs. And there are about 4,000 to 5,000 writs per year that this court has to handle. And so you need to make sure, number one, that we have enough people reviewing them, enough staff, enough time, enough attention, because I think we can all agree that if you say that you've looked at it, but you've given each one of them 30 seconds, is that really a look, right? And important issues are being addressed. Important issues about junk science, science that is no longer credible, that was the basis of conviction in the original case. Mental health disabilities, many issues that are coming up through these writs that are not getting the type of attention that we want, because justice for all also means that even if you were convicted of an offense, if there was something wrong in the case, we should look at it now before it's too late.
Thank you.
Access to justice, that's something that's very important to me. I was in Houston, Texas on Friday, Angleton on yesterday. I'm here in Kyle, Texas today. And everywhere I go, anybody that will listen, I've been telling them about a unique idea, and you heard it first here in Kyle, Texas. I think we should have internships for lawyers, just like they do with doctors. With doctors, when you graduate from medical school, that first year is an internship. After your internship, then you start practicing. You get to learn a lot during that time period, but the advantage for us as lawyers, not only will that new lawyer that just passed the bar get a chance to learn their craft, we also get a whole new set of lawyers that can help with access to justice, where they can do free work for a year, or very cheap, low-scale work to help with different programs like we have in Dallas. We have something in Dallas where they can go and get free legal help, but it takes you 2 years to get a lawyer because they just don't have enough. The Dallas Bar has a program. North Texas Legal Services has a program. Why can't we do just a 1-year internship for a sliding scale pay or free, and it would be 4 years instead of 3, but we would have so many people that get access. We need this access for people who just can't afford it.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We have a representative for Dan Wood, who is running for place 3. He has 1 minute to speak. It's over there at the table.
Howdy, I'm Trey Gober. I'm an attorney in Austin, but more importantly, since I'm not running myself, I'm representing Dan Wood today. He's running for Place 3, Court of Criminal Appeals. The most important thing I want you to know in this minute I have about Dan is he's the most qualified candidate in his race. Dan has represented over 100 people in criminal appeals, ultimately all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. He has written dozens of appellate briefs in criminal appeals. He is the only candidate in his race that is certified by the Texas Bar for criminal appellate law. That's on the Democratic and the Republican side. Dan has written dozens of appellate briefs in criminal appeals. In total, his opponents have written 1 over 20 years ago. There's only one candidate that's qualified for this race. We're going to win in 2020 to turn Texas blue, and if we want to continue to do that, keep up to win on the next cycle, we've got to have somebody, our incumbent, who is qualified and able to beat that Republican in that next race. Dan cares about rehabilitation over retribution.
Thank you,
He wants
Trey.
access to justice.
Thank you. Okay.